Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for our final Leadership Insight webinar for 2021. Is that right? Is this 2021? We're so grateful that you've taken the time to watch this live, or if you're watching the replay today. I really believe that you're going to hear some things that's really going to inspire you, direct you, and help you. Today's webinar is different than any other previous one. We're going to tell you about it at the end, but we have an agreement with Sam Chan Leadership Institute, which I believe is going to really help you in a very practical way and keep this conversation going and keep your leadership growth going forward as well. So I want to welcome Dr. Sam Chan to our Leadership Insight today. Thank you so much, Dr. Chan, for taking time. I know that you have many things going on this week, but you've escaped those to join us here today. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm in sunny Florida right now. I needed to get that in because in Vermont and in that whole corridor, it is not as warm as it is down here, but I needed to work that in there to let you know God is loving me a little bit more.
It's 72 here. It's bright.
Yes.
In the office, inside. It's always that way here. Well, God lets the sun hit Maine before any other state in the United States because he likes it best. That's all I can tell you. So, Dr. Chan, my first conversation with you was in August, and you gave me about an hour of your time, and it was so beneficial. So I have so much confidence that today, the things that you have to share will mean so much to both our students and all of our connections that are joining in today. So let me just, this is the one thing that has been on the top of my mind, and I really want to get your insight on this. Authenticity and executives. It seems to be kind of a very popular thing. We want authentic leaders, which I'm not sure that we've ever asked for fake ones, but this authentic leader, I think that there are many, especially young leaders, who are trying to be authentic, but they also need the executive attributes as well. The authenticity of, I can feel what you're feeling, I'm being real, but that's not the only thing we need in leadership. That you need to be able to walk into a room and say, now that's the leader. Do you see any of this challenge that we can be real, but we've also got to be executive at the same time?
Well, that's a huge question. So before I answer the question, please call me Sam. That's my name. So yeah, just call me Sam.
All right.
I think there's a inherent built-in tension between what people call authentic, empathetic, caring, feeling leader, and somebody who's we would consider an executive leader who's quite confident of themselves, quite sure where they're going, has a clear vision, a clear destination in the mind, and not only a clear destination, but a clear pathway how to get to where they want to go. And a lot of times, the executive wins out over the authentic leader. And I know we're defining authentic leader very, very broadly for this conversation right here. The executive wins out over the authentic because it seems like the authentic person is in the here and now, but an executive leader is taking us there. So there are three sections to every organization, every conversation: our history, H, our here, another H, our horizons, another H. So we are always having that tension point between our histories, our here, and our horizons. And if we're not careful, we will go there without acknowledging the here. And a lot of times when we're acknowledging the here, we are not seen as somebody who's guiding us there. And I think that is a balance that nobody really achieves. I've really not seen a leader. So I'm setting everybody free right now to say to you, you are going to be in that meeting. You're going to be in that one-on-one conversation in which your authentic self wants to say, I hear you, I get you, I'm so sorry. I feel for you. I know your tensions that you're going through, and yet turn the corner. It's a hard turn to say, but this is where I know where you're at. And the word but shows up, which seems so insensitive, but this is where we are going. And I think I live in the tension. You live in that tension. Every leader lives in the tension because you're having two seemingly contradictory conversations at the same time. I don't know how you can be an executive leader and not be an authentic leader. And I don't, it's the right wing and the left wing of an airplane. I think you need them both. But in the end, I think most leaders gravitate towards being an executive leader.
Yeah, and I think I'm hearing you say we don't have to sacrifice one to have the other.
That's right.
Like we could be both, but it's not easy, is it?
I think it is more of one than the other, depending on the context that we find ourselves in. And then there are some meetings and some people you're going to deal with that you know that if you went the authentic way, they might take advantage of that and leverage that to say, you know, it's not the right time. We're going through a lot. Why don't we slow it down? Why don't we not do that? Why do we defer that? But your executive thing is saying, no, this is the window that we need to take a hard right on. So I think you got to read the room and see if they are being authentic about it as well. It's not just authenticity on my side, but I'm looking at somebody else. And if they are being authentic, then I can go more over there. But yeah, I think that's a tension every leader faces in every meeting.
Yeah, so over time, I think young leaders learn this. You just have to be teachable and get feedback and know how you're coming across, right? Like, how do you engage that? Like, we don't always know how we come across, though.
No, we don't. And I think it is easier to go into the authentic self and sacrifice the executive. And yet, I mean, the times that we're going through right now all over the world, however you want to view that. So as a leader, you know that at faith, you have to be sensitive to our present context, and yet you got an organization to lead. I mean, there are students, there are alumni, there are donors. You're dealing with all kinds of regulatory bodies at the state level, at the federal level, at the agencies that you work with, and the federal agencies the regulatory agencies are not trying to be authentic with you. The power company, the water company are not trying to be authentic with you. It's like, here's an invoice. And they don't have a handwritten note at the bottom. We feel your pain. So I think, well that it is hard to do both at the same time. And yet I think if there was ever a time in which especially believers can find authenticity in God's word, and yet know that we have to lead not in spite of it, not because of it, but through it all. Yeah. Because yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow. So you don't get to take a detour. You don't have a bridge or a tunnel under it. You have to walk through it.
I love when the Apostle Paul said, we give you the comfort that we've received. It was like in ministry context, he put himself in their shoes, but he said, but there's hope. And I'm going to show you how to get out of this mess. I'm going to show you that there is a future after this. And
especially when he's writing, that's in 2 Corinthians, and when he's writing the Corinthian church, now the Corinthian church was one messed up church. I mean, these people are something else. I mean, I know if you're a pastor watching me right now, if you want to feel better about your church, just do a little hermeneutic study on the Corinthian church. In those days, if you wanted to cuss somebody, if you want to call somebody a bad name, you call them a Corinthian. You'd say, you Corinthian. I mean, this is a church where incest is going on unchecked, where people are getting drunk at the Lord's table, where people think that I have to prophesy, I have to be the big kahuna. I mean, this is where rampant stuff is going on. And that is why 1 Corinthians chapter 14 shows up and 2 Corinthians shows up. And it is in that Corinthian epistle that Paul is having to vindicate his leadership and his apostleship. So there's that authentic side in which he's saying, I feel your pain. But also he is saying to them, hey, listen, we've all been comforted and we need to extend the same comfort to others as well.
Yeah. I think Paul just shows us how to be a great leader and not be too fragile. So maybe you can give us some insight on this as well, because I have loved when I've read your material, you do deal with the realities of life going on parallel to leadership. And so maybe you could help us as you've addressed the issue so well. So even on the authentic side, we do deal with real life pain, or maybe we give pain in the organization as well. Maybe you could talk to us how to keep going forward when we're dealing with the real pain and behind the scenes or on the stage.
So since we are using Paul, for example, right now, one of my favorite chapters that gives me strength as an authentic leader is Romans chapter 7. So everyone wants to run to Romans 8:28 for all things work together for the good of those. But I think if you looked at Romans 8:28 in the context of Romans chapter 7, where Paul says, he ends up that chapter saying, oh, wretched man that I am, who will deliver me? But before all of that, if you read the verses above that, he says, I wrestle with my flesh. I wrestle with myself every day. He says, I know what is right. I know what is wrong. I know what is righteous. I know what is unrighteous. I know what is godly. I know what is ungodly. And yet this is wrestling within me, and I end up doing the wrong thing. I'm the apostle. I'm the church planter. I'm going to end up writing the 2/3 of the New Testament. You're going to hear my name more than anybody else's, any other apostle's name. And yet Romans 7 says, I wrestle with that. And when it says, oh, wretched man that I am, the word wretched in the Greek has the picture, Paul uses a lot of athletic terms. And one of the picturesque thing about the word wretched is the picture of being tired in a wrestling match.
Wow.
So I don't know if you remember or not, when we were growing up, we'd have a friend, a brother, a cousin, and we would wrestle with them in the living room floor. And, and then both of us are, just breathing heavily. And that is the picture that he's using. Oh, wow. Wretched man, I'm exhausted in this battle of trying to be this kind of a church planter, this kind of apostle, this kind of leader. But I'm wrestling on the inside with my own authenticity at the same time. And I think it is that wrestling that every leader has to grapple with and got to say to themselves, we live in a real world. My book, Leadership Pain, which has become my bestseller right now, deals with that. And basically the thesis sentence for that book is, you will grow only to the threshold of your pain. The more pain you can handle, the higher you're going to go. And so everybody who is watching me and watching this conversation right now has to, once you value that pain side of things, then you can know that growth is coming from that.
So good. There is a stress in the survival mode that tests that. And then there's a stress in the success mode that tests that. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with this, but I know many that do, and I have personally, that either has complexity. You're trying to figure a way to get out of a mess, or you're trying to figure a way to manage a miracle. Have you ever overthought when you're trying to move forward in either of those? And if you have, how do you know you're overthinking?
So I struggle more with this is going to sound terrible, but I need to say that. I struggle more with my success than my failures.
Wow.
The Bible says, weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. When I'm going through a tough time in my life, I can find a whole lot more people to weep with me, to commiserate with me. to pray with me. But when things are going extremely well, the crowd thins out to celebrate with me. So I used to have, way of thinking about friends like a true friend is somebody you can call 3 o'clock in the morning from the side of the road who's, that kind of thing. My definition of friend has changed. My definition of friend now is if something wonderful happened in our life, who could we call and share that with? Who will not hate on us, but rejoice with us. I'll give you a very, very personal example. Again, all our examples sound stupid because they sound like self-gratifying, but my stories are all the stories I have. So a few years ago, when my wife Brenda and I paid off our house, our mortgage that we live in right now, when we paid off our mortgage and we wrote the final mortgage check, I remember looking at Brenda and Brenda looking at me and saying, who do we tell?
Yeah.
So yeah, we told our 2 daughters, and they said, that's good for you, Mom, Dad. One day I hope we can do the same thing in our houses. But after that, who do we tell? I mean, I don't know about you, but in my life, paying off a mortgage for an immigrant who landed at JFK Airport in 1973 with 87 cents in my pocket, literally 87 cents in my pocket to pay off our mortgage. And it's a big deal. But who do I tell? And I think those are the kind of dichotomies that test us in our good days and our bad days. In my bad days, I can put it on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Hey, pray for me. I'm going through this, be it a sickness or bereavement, whatever. And I get deluged with that. But who can I tell when things are amazing in my life? And I think that is the tension point that leaders find themselves in. So the test of adversity, I think, is easier than the test of influence, affluence, success. That is harder to handle, at least in my life.
And if you can find somebody that will celebrate with you, boy, you want to keep them close.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that there are very, very few, very, very few.
Well, and I think on our end, we have to be willing to celebrate when other people win as well. Like I think those could be our greatest allies. And unfortunately, we do live in a culture that does specialize in pulling successful people down, which is mind-numbing to me. But what an opportunity as Christian leaders to change that narrative.
It really is. And I think we have to model that. We have to model that. And I think pastors especially have opportunities to model that from the platform. When somebody had a winning day, a winning week, somebody got promoted, somebody graduated, somebody got married, somebody had their first baby, somebody moved up in whatever area they were in. And finding those, I think those, what I would consider, and again, another bad word, little successes are so important. I think one of my favorite verses in the Bible that encourages me is Exodus chapter 23, verse 29 and 30. Exodus chapter 23, verse 29 and 30. God comes to Moses and he says to him, hey, listen, I can give you everything that I promised you overnight. I can give you everything overnight, but you won't be able to handle it. The animals will run you over. Your enemies will run you over. I can eradicate all that for you, but you can't handle it. So for me as a leader, my most encouraging verse in the entire Bible is verse 30. When God says to him, I'm still going to give you what I promised you, but here comes the 2 words. I'm going to give you the 3 words, little by little, little by little. I call that incremental increase. And if we can celebrate incremental increases, now I believe in abundance, I believe in breakthrough. I actually have one sermon that is a good sermon on breakthrough. Everyone watching me has had that breakthrough, abundance, God coming through, the miraculous take place. And I'm all for that. And I've seen enough of that to believe God does that. But for the majority of my life, the 99% of my life, it is that little by little. And I did not know what I'm saying to you right now earlier on in my life. If I had the capacity to thank God for that little breakthrough, that incremental increase, what God says, little by little. So I was looking for that bam moment, but God was giving me those little increases, incremental increases. And I think once we get ourselves into the zone where we can actually celebrate God's incremental increase, we can walk into our promised land, but it's going to be one step at a time.
I'm so glad that our student body's hearing you say that right now, because, you know, they have big dreams, but sometimes they minimize the victories. And Gerald Brooks calls that slow motion victories.
Yes.
Slow motion victories, but they're still victories. And it helps a culture when you celebrate those, you know, even the little victories as well. I've got some questions that are coming in from students and people that have registered. Here's the first one. What is the most effective way to change and shape the culture in a church? And I think you just hit a major one right there. But what are some of the most effective ways that you've seen that we change and shape the culture of a church?
So I've written a whole book on it called Culture Catalyst. So it's 224 pages, but let me give it to you in probably the next 2 minutes. So culture is created at the top, sustained from the bottom, destroyed from the middle. I want to say that again. Culture is created at the top, sustained from the bottom, destroyed from the middle. That's true for corporate, for church, for your family, everything. So the best way to create the culture is to be the culture, because more is caught than taught. So I go to organizations that have vision statements, mission statements, purpose statements, core values, culture values, all that. I'm all for that. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. But culture is not what you do, but who you are. I am convinced that the strongest force in any organization is culture. It's not your vision, it's not your mission, it's not your core values. In fact, in the book, I say a toxic culture will eat vision for lunch. A toxic culture will eat vision for lunch. And toxicity can be overcome by health. But I can tell you, you can create a toxic culture in 2 days' time, 3 at the most. But to create a healthy culture, and more difficult to maintain a healthy culture, is constant. So culture is sustained by 2 things: what you reward and what you punish. What you reward, what you punish. And so you have to be careful what you reward. If you are rewarding irregularities, if you're rewarding dysfunctional behavior, if you are doing that, then that's setting a pace as well. But when you make sure that you really reward what needs to be rewarded, and you do punish punitively and disciplinary wise what is not healthy, that is how you create culture. But yeah, you can look at Culture Catalyst on Amazon or whatever, and there I break down the word culture, C-U-L-T-R-E, into the 7 words that it is. Now that I've said that, let me go ahead and give it to you. You know, I don't want to be just selling a book here. So C stands for control. Who is really in control? U stands for being unafraid. L stands for leadership. T stands for trust, the most important one, trust. C-U-L-T. U stands for understanding who you are, your vision, your mission. C-U-L-T-U-R. R is responsive, how organization is responsive, and E is execution. Do things really get done? And so we have a full, if you go to samchanculturesurvey.com, samchanculturesurvey.com, you can take, it's free. And no one's going to try to sell you anything, but your entire organization or your department can take that samchanculturesurvey.com. Takes 5 minutes to take it. It has 77 questions on it. You'll get a response right back, and you'll get an empirical data as to how your organization tallies up on a scale of 1 to 5 on those 7 areas. So yeah, that's a long answer to a short question.
It's very good. It's actually the first book of yours I ever read, and I took my staff through it and years ago, and it was so eye-opening, because the things that we like or we dislike about certain organizations aren't always written. They're just sensed, but there's a reason that you sense what you sense. And so for those of you that are watching, actually that's going to tie into what we're and Sam Chan Leadership Institute is going to be able to help you to do. A part of all that is going to contribute. So just stay in tune with us here today. I'm excited to share with you, because culture change is really a part of that we're going to share with you later. Okay, this is a good one. How do you lead members of your team that are older than you? And I know you have a lot of people older than you because you're a very young man, but how do you lead members of your team that are older than you?
I've had the major opportunity of doing that.
Yeah.
When I was a college president, before the Lord delivered me, set me free. Oh, yes. Come back.
He always set me free.
Yeah, he let me out early for good behavior.
That's the reason. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you're going to do life. Yeah, but I became a college president at the age of 35. At the age of 35.
Wow.
And that's a great story too, because at one time I was a breakfast cook. As a student, I was a breakfast cook, dishwasher, and janitor from 1973 to 1977. Yeah, I cooked breakfast, washed dishes, was janitor. In 1989, I came back as the president. So I had a lot of older people on my team. And this is what I would like to say to that question. Just because somebody's older than you does not mean they're stupid.
So good.
And just because you know more than them does not mean they're not wise.
Yeah.
Because knowledge and wisdom are two different things.
Yeah.
So I have learned to honor everybody, especially those who are older than me, because they've lived more of life. They can help me more. So the key word that to this answer to this question is honor, honor, honor. You can never go wrong with honor. And one day you will be old too. So the Bible says, whatever you sow, you will also reap.
So good.
So if you in your later years want to be honored, you need to sow honor now. So I know you are 20 something and everybody older than you looks like wish they would get with the action. And I'm here to tell you, you are thinking the right thoughts, and we wish we could get with the action too. Trust me, us older people envy you. We envy your knowledge. You are smarter at the age of 22 than we were at the age of 22. We know that. We know you're smarter than us. We know you know more. And of course you should, because your world is at your fingertips. We had to go to the library, to go to Britannica and Americana, the encyclopedias, to find out. You in less than 30 seconds can Google that, and you have that knowledge base. You can YouTube anything and do it. So you need to know, I'm talking to the younger people now, you need to know we envy you. We are jealous of you. We say to ourselves, I have 2 daughters. Rachel is 41, Debbie is 39. But even when they were much, much, much younger, they were smarter than me at their age than I ever was at their age. They have been greatly more exposed. They have traveled more, read more. They had more at their level. So we envy you. You need to know that. We look at you and saying, if I could redo my life, boy, I'd like to be there. Every one of us wishes we were where you are with the knowledge base we have now, with the wisdom that we have now. So I would like to say to everybody, just honor everybody.
Yeah.
And I think we do a total disrespect when we put labels on people. For example, oh, they are just millennials. You know, millennials think this way. Generation X, Y, Z. And I think as soon as you hang a label on somebody,
Yeah.
you can find them. As soon as you define it, you can find it. And I think just stay away from labels. Everyone's got something to offer to you.
Yeah.
Everybody, does not matter how young they are or how old they are, can add value to you. But you have to open the gate to that. And the gateway is honor.
Yeah.
And once you honor people, you're just going to grow incrementally in your life simply because they know more. Now, what I don't understand, Dr. Ward, is why God, I mean, I think God got it backward. Just when you get old, you know, this next birthday, I'll be 70. So just when I've learned 2 or 3 things in life, just when I'm getting a little bit of wisdom, not a whole lot, but a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of know-how, he says, you got to check out. I mean, what's with that? I mean, just when I can live life a little better, he said, come on home. So I think he got it backward there. But in any case, this is what we have. And I just say, honor everybody. Don't hang shingles on people. Don't categorize them. Don't label them. Just everybody can be your instructor if you let them be.
It's so good. You know, maybe we need to be a little naive when we're younger anyways, right? To try to do the things that we want to do. That is so good. Okay, we got more coming in from the students. These are great questions, guys. You're doing great. Starting out in ministry, what is something foundational someone needs to become and grow as a great leader? Maybe what they're saying is starting out in the ministry, what is something foundational that they need to know?
So I'm going to tell you a story.
Good.
It's 1980. I'm 28. I have just been invited to pastor, as senior pastor, a church in Michigan. It's a small country church, 65, 70 people maximum on a good day. So I was all excited about that. It's August of 1980. So the organization I was a part of and ordained with, we were having our annual conference in Ohio. I'm excited. I'm at this conference as a senior pastor for the first time. Before that, I was a youth pastor in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. We had our bishop, our general overseer, our leader of our organization. His name was Dr. Chester Miller, a former missionary from Brazil, but he was an American. So I saw him across the campus where this conference was being held, and I run over to him and I said to him, Dr. Miller, I don't know if you heard or not, I have been elected to be pastor of Full Gospel Assembly in Michigan. He said, he was just a quiet, understated gentleman, older man. And he said to me, I heard, Brother Sam, I'm proud of you. I heard. So in my excitement, I'm 28, right? My first church. In my excitement, I said to him, Dr. Miller, if you could give me one piece of advice, what would that be? I'm a new pastor. What's your one advice to me? His advice to me was so disappointing. But I got to let you know that. He looked at me. I can still see that day. He looked at this 28-year-old guy. He looked at me. He said, Brother Sam, live long and live clean. And walked away.
Wow.
Oh, I was like the rich young ruler. And I was looking for him to give me some strategy.
Yeah.
something about change, something about programs, something about what to do with my governance, something about what I should be preaching, what my first 100 days should look like. He just said to me, Brother Sam, live long and live clean.
So good.
It did not make sense to me till I was in my 40s. Because the longer you live, the more God has opportunities to use you.
True.
And live clean. That means stay married.
Yeah.
Take care of your money. Don't get shady. Don't just learn the tricks of the trade, learn the trade. Don't look for hacks. Pay the price. Honor everybody. Don't be a gossiper. Don't be a complainer. Enjoy this life. It is short. It'll pass you very quickly. Even though people will do you wrong, love them anyhow.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do with you. Live long, live clean. So the answer to the question you just asked me, live long, live clean.
That says it all right there. It's so good. Really good. This could be asked in the same thing in a different way. They're asking, what is the most important leadership skill?
The skill.
Yeah.
If I could have gotten better earlier at transposing what I saw in my head to people.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between vision and vision casting. I needed to get better at vision casting. So there are two kinds of people that you're going to deal with. Doesn't matter where you're at. About 10% of them are going to be abstract thinkers and abstract communicators, but 90% people you're going to be talking to are concrete thinkers. Abstract and concrete. So abstract are people who think in concepts, visionary language, but concrete people are do this, don't do that. Look at Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10, Jesus sending them 70 disciples, 2 and 2. And he said, the vision is pray to the Father. The only prayer request Jesus ever had. It says, send laborers into the vineyard. The harvest is great. The laborers are few. So he's giving them this visionary abstract. But then he transferred from there to concrete, 2 and 2. He had a whole itinerary of cities that he was going to go to. So he sends them to, you go there, you go there, you go there. He tells them what to pack. Don't check any luggage in, only have carry on. He gives them a script, a 3x5. When they welcome you, say the kingdom of God has come nigh unto you. When they kick you out, say the same thing to them. He tells them what to eat, what to say, what to pray. So he took the abstract and made it concrete. One skill if I had gotten better at, so it doesn't matter where you're going to be leading, you're going to have to get better at taking the abstract and making it concrete, taking the vision and casting it in a way that people get it, can get on board, and can take the journey with you. For me, that would have been one skill I wish I had learned earlier.
That's so good. Let me ask you, just because what you have made available to offer to people is actually practical tools that they can have in their hands that are tangible in the Sam Chan Leadership Institute. So I don't want to get too far from what you just said, because I feel like that really connects with the tools that you have are available for people. Let me just ask you this, just before we go into that, what at this stage of your life, what is the one thing in leadership that you would do less of if you could go back? What is the one thing in leadership you would do more of if you could go back?
So you're asking us almost 70-year-old man who's lived an amazing life all over the world to give an unfair answer to that. But having said it's going to be unfair because coming from me, and you're asking me this question, here's my answer. I'd be less enamored with the platform.
Wow.
And I would spend more of my time on the personal relationship with people.
Good.
So anybody who knows anything about me knows that I've done pretty much every major platform there is to do.
True.
I've done every continent, and whatever mega place comes to your mind, I've done their platform. And I lived for the platform. But at this point in my life, if you gave me an option of saying, you can speak to 10,000 people in this auditorium versus you can spend a couple hours with 10 pastors, 10 leaders in this room, at this point in my life, I'll say no to the 10,000 and say yes to the 10. And I'll tell you why. Because I have lived long enough to guarantee you your effectiveness and your impact will be greater with the 10 than the 10,000. Because when I'm on a platform and speaking to 10,000 people, which I've done multiple times, many more than that, your presentation is going to be at the lowest common denominator because it's got to be so fundamental. You cannot go into any depth. So you're trying to basically entertain and inform at the same time. So not a whole lot happens impact-wise. Influence-wise maybe, but impact-wise with a 10,000. But put me in a room with 10 leaders, I know that somebody's going to walk away from there with a difference in their life. So I live for, at this point, I live for one-on-one meetings. I live for that. One-on-one meetings. My next speech spot is 10, 15, no more than 20 in a room. And at this point in my life, I'm basically saying no to all my platform opportunities. I get between 3 and 5 platform invitations every week. And I can tell you, I'm saying no to 99% of those, simply because I know I want to live the rest of my life by impact. I've done all the recreational platform speaking I need to do. And so, yeah, I think at this point, I want to say yes to the smaller. I'm trying to grow my room small, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I've heard that as you get older, and I'm seeing it, you're more selective about who you bring around you, because you have maybe a consciousness of the brevity of time, and you don't need unnecessary relationships. And I wish that we could all, even as the young people, would invest in those quality relationships and not be too distracted by the crowds. And we thank the Lord for the crowds, right? I mean, God was able to take what he's putting you and disperse that in powerful ways. But, I was shocked when you would take an hour and FaceTime me, and I just some random guy. But so I've experienced that. And that hour you spent with me is just, I'm still trying to digest it, but it's stuff that I feel like has changed my life. So being a recipient of that, I'm so grateful that you're willing to go that route. It's really good.
All of life is about relationships. You will go where relationships will take you. For example, this conversation we're having right now, it started with Greg Dunlop,
yes,
our mutual friend. So Greg and I became good friends during my Bible college days. And Greg was pastoring a very influential church way out in the rural community. They were doing great things for God. And Greg would invite me, Pastor Greg Dunlop at that time would invite me to come and speak at his church and so on and so forth. So that relationship. And then that relationship went away, dormant. For I would say I did not speak or communicate with Greg for, let me be truthful and say at least 20 years, And then through a set of circumstances, we reconnected. And then Greg Dunlop introduced me to you. Relationship.
Yep.
And out of that, I end up in your ecosystem talking to your homies on this call, but it started with Greg Dunlop.
Yeah.
So I have lived long enough to say that you will go anywhere in life based on relationships. So never become utilitarian, never use people, honor people. So, Pastor Greg Dunlop and I didn't talk for 20 years, but here we are.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, relationships will take you where nothing else will.
So good. And he's on the webinar today.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Hello. Yeah.
Well, hello, Greg.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for making this, I would imagine, a divine kingdom connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So, and it's good. And I hope that the students and younger leaders will hear this, because they do a great job networking digitally. But those digital connections, which there's value in that, but they're not quite as valuable as a handful of getting to know people. And I think that's one of the advantages of a Bible college, single purpose Bible college. And I know you believe in it because you've led one, is that you get to meet quality kingdom people that could down the road open doors that you could never do on your own. So I want to end with this, and I've teased the people just enough, but I've been a beneficiary. I've been a member of the Sam Chan Leadership Institute. I believe in it so much, I'm actually signing up to take my staff at the churches through this program next year and let grow our staff through this. But nobody can talk about the Sam Chan Leadership Program better than Sam Chan. Would you share with the folks what this is?
Absolutely, absolutely. So years ago, I started the Sam Chan Leadership Institute, in which when you sign up for it, and a sign-up deal is crazy. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. So when you sign up for it, you get one of my books a month. So it's a 12-month program. You can get the books in hard copy, and you can also get it digital online, the whole thing. So you get a book a month, and you get 3 videos every month that teach that book. So by the time you go to the 12-month program, you will have read 12 of my books. They're in English and Spanish, by the way, 12 of my books, and about 40 some videos. And at the end of it, you get a certificate that I'd love to co-brand with Faith Bible College International. It'll give you a certificate of completion from the Faith Bible College International, the Sam Chan Leadership Institute. And the price is right. Price is whatever you want to pay. Whatever you want to pay. Yeah, you heard me right. You heard me right. It's like going to a restaurant and you sit down to eat and you look at the menu and you see all the items there, but you don't see the prices, and you call somebody and say, hey, well, how much is this? I want to order this, or how much is this? And they say, whatever you want to pay. Eat whatever you want to eat and pay whatever you want to pay. Now, the only reason somebody would not do that is that they don't want to grow as a leader. Because, I mean, imagine this. You pay whatever. So when you'll go to that website that will be given to you through the team that's working with us, you will see it'll ask you only 2 questions. Question number 1 is your name, email, so we can start sending you the material. And the number 2 is, how much do you want to pay? No questions asked, no pushback, no back and forth. That's whatever you want to pay. And if you're a pastor of a church, just do what Dr. Ward is going to do. Just take all you got to do is make that link available to your people. You can subscribe for some people. You may not subscribe. That's up to you, how you want to handle that. But yeah, the Sam Chan Leadership Institute, there are thousands upon thousands of people all over the globe who are taking advantage of that. And so the price is right. Nobody can argue about the price. Now, the content may not be the best. There's better content out there. I get that. But the price, nobody else can beat that for you. So that's what it is.
Well, I'd like to put what little endorsement power I have to it, because I've seen it. I'm a testimony of it, and it's so, so good. So here's the generosity above and beyond, which, let me just say, Sam, how much do you think you've given away financially?
Right now, about $5 million.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I think that lets people see your heart. So that's awesome. So even beyond that, what Sam Chan Leadership Institute, Sam Chan himself has done is have said, if people sign up through that link today, or we're going to send you, everybody that's registered, the direct link for this program, they will give back half of what is donated to Faith Bible College International. And that just continues to help us to train men and women so that they can do ministry and graduate debt-free. When you graduate debt-free, you can go anywhere that God calls you to go. What an advantage. So, Sam, thank you so very much. This has been an incredibly valuable time together for us, the students, and our friends.
It's been an honor to be with you. I'm available to you at any time that I can be of service to you. Just know that Sam Chand and Faith Bible College International, I'm available to you.
That's very kind. And I've just got to say, though, you make those curtains look very, very good.
You know, I'm envious of your background. I'm in this hotel with these beautiful boutique curtains behind me. So this is the best backdrop I could get without sitting on my bed. So
it's just fun to end that way. Just for you folks to know, I mean, he's right in the middle of his big year-end staff events, and Sam leaves all that, runs to his hotel, and he showed me a picture of how he set up his studio. That is flexibility as a leader. Very impressive. I didn't know you had all these talents.
Don't tell anybody.
Bless you, Sam. Thank you.
Thank you. Lord bless you.
Bless you. Thank you. All right. So everybody that's here, just before you all log off, just a couple things. One, as Alexis told you earlier, if we would appreciate it if you would fill out the survey. That helps us to make sure that we're doing what we're doing well. We appreciate your feedback because we always want to do this better. We will plan on having our next Leadership Insight webinar in February and April of 2022, and then be looking for an email from us because it will have that link that you can sign up for the Sam Chand Leadership Insight program. And I think that's going to go out to you tomorrow. But if you want to sign up today, you'll see in the chat that I believe they've put a link, and it won't have our logo on it yet, but our friends there are tracking that today. So if you want to sign up today, do it today. Be generous. Or if you want to wait for the email, you'll have a link with our URL that you can do that there. All right. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see you next time on Leadership Insight.